I just bought this brand new Aston Martin DB12. It's only done 29 miles. And now we're going to attempt to rebuild this in 24 hours. At least that's what I thought.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
This is the all-new Aston Martin DB12, which only got released this year. And that's why I was so surprised to see this one at the crash damage car auction already, and with such low miles. These Astons are selling for over £200,000. But this was an opportunity to get a brand new car for a fraction of that price, but with a catch. I had to rebuild it. Here it is.
Yeah, look at that.
Oh my, someone never took delivery of this then, did they? Someone never even took delivery of it.
You've still got the cover.
Huh. It's got the car cover in it.
Oh, no way. Oh yeah, it's still got like the reveal cover. And it's Aston Martin. Look at that.
I bet that's quite expensive, one of those.
Yeah. I bet this was going to go to someone.
Yeah.
And then it never made it there. That's quite sad, isn't it? Now, one thing that we can't work out is how a car which is so new with so little miles has ended up like this. Oh my god, it is mint in here. Oh. I then found some documents which were in the back of the car. Are these like PDI inspections? Yeah, it's like the new papers. See, I've never bought a brand new car ever before. I'm pretty sure these documents are not supposed to go to the customer.
Road test check sheet.
Oh. Was it crashed on a test drive?
It could have. Rolling road, rig process complete, pass. Braking cycle complete, engine noise complete. Everything complete. It failed on squeak and rattle on the road test. It looked like it had more than a squeak and rattle on the road test. But none of these documents give us any clues to how this car crashed. They just look like a snag sheet for the technicians. Our first theory is that the car has fell off a transporter lorry on the way to a dealership. But there were some parts of the damage which go against that theory.
Look in there. Look in that.
Oh yeah.
Full of mud.
I think it might have been in a ditch.
Back the backside.
I took the air filters off, that's why the bag's there.
There's loads of room there.
Yeah, there's meant to be air filters here. Oh, that is... How have they done that? Unless the trees hit it. Oh, that is quite bad, isn't it? Meant to be big air filters here.
Do you like this?
Yeah, this is mine, isn't it?
No way. So the mystery's not solved yet. But one thing we do know is that this car's got damage all over. But before I work out how I'm going to fix that, the one thing I want to know is if this car starts. There we go. Oh, it smells so good in here.
Oh.
What's the issue? But absolutely nothing. It didn't even try. If it's anything like the last Aston Martin, there's a pyro fuse, and not only that, you have to plug in the diagnostic into the OBD port and cancel the crash data off it, else it won't start. But this is a brand new car, so whether my diagnostic stuff will actually work in it is very optimistic. As most of you might know by now, the pyro fuse is a fuse which breaks after the car's been in an accident and the airbags have blown. This then cuts power going to the starter motor, stopping you from being able to start the car again for safety reasons. There it is, guys. Our nemesis. That should be blown, so we just need to bridge that. So what I'm doing now as a temporary solution is removing the pyro fuse from the circuit and then taking the wire which goes to the starter motor and connecting it onto another circuit so it can get the 12 volts it needs. So now the power is going to go directly from the battery down here and down to the starter. Look, it's broken straight across there. So we're going to need one of them. But will this solution help start the car? What's happening?
Start it.
Yeah? Yeah. Go. No. We got absolutely nothing. It's asking for model year. Now sometimes alongside the pyro fuse you have to plug in a diagnostic tool and cancel the crash data on the ECU to allow the car to start. My diagnostic kit is too old. Oh. But did last time was do it as a C60 3, I think it was. My diagnostic tool won't read a car this new. In fact, it won't even read Aston Martins. But as we know, Aston Martin use Mercedes for their engines, and nothing changed on this DB12. It's a Mercedes V8 twin turbo. So instead of telling my diagnostic tool that it's an Aston Martin I'm scanning, I'm gonna tell it it's a Mercedes. My tool still didn't do it, so I ended up borrowing another one. But this time it actually read the codes as a Mercedes. There we go. Crash sensor, right front door, the squib for the emergency retractor on the driver, malfunction, window bag, and I can see it had multiple fault codes, especially in the airbag system. I then cleared the ones that I could clear and tried again. Fault codes deleted. 3, 2, 1. Still nothing. I don't think this diagnostic tool is communicating with the car properly. We're not getting like proper codes, we're just getting random ones because can't read. I'm gonna go try it. Because although the engine is a Mercedes engine, on these new Aston Martins, Aston now have their own software system. That's why these interiors and the technology inside have took a huge leap from the last Aston Martins. Problem is with that, we're gonna need a special Aston Martin tool to talk to this car. So we're stuck. Fun. Woo, 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 woo.
Oh my, look how much grass is underneath
Yeah,
this.
it's been in a ditch, innit?
Definitely.
It's been dragged out of one and all.
Poor Aston.
Okay, underneath here, this bolt there, if you tighten that up, it should push this car into neutral. So we can't get it started. So my attention now goes on to just getting this car off the trailer. And because the car won't start, it won't come out of the park gear. And the only way to manually do it is to screw in this bolt underneath the gearbox.
Yes.
With that bolt screwed in, the car's now in neutral and we can start to push it off the trailer. I've never actually started rebuilding the car before knowing whether it actually starts. But this could be the first. Okay, so we've got 2 problems. First problem, we can't get it started and we don't even know if it does start. Second problem, we still have no idea how this has actually happened and why it's on 29 miles and whether it actually got to a customer or we don't know. We'll try and figure that out throughout this build. But our third problem is, when I bought this car, I was hoping that I was going to be able to rebuild it in 24 hours and we're not going to change that. As soon as we go inside the workshop and start working on this car, the 24 hours are going to begin. Let's get this in the workshop and see if there's any more damage before we start this work.
How does it drive?
Hope it had power steering.
You're alright.
That's a proper dad thing, isn't it? Do you know when they put their arm on the passenger seat and
Oh yeah, and they reverse.
If we plan on rebuilding this car in 24 hours, then we're going to have to know the full extent of the damage. That way we can make sure we can order all the parts we need to do it. So our first step now is to get the car in the air and have a look under it. Whoa, it didn't fall off a lorry. Look at that. Yeah. Oh, back here.
What? What's that?
Fuel line.
Fuel line?
Fuel line. So even if we did get the car cranking, the car wouldn't have even started because one of the fuel lines is completely broke.
This is perished as well.
In fact, both of the fuel lines are broke, which go from the engine to the fuel tank.
There's all mud all up here.
Old perished drop link. Both anti-roll bar drop links, front and back, seem to have undergone some damage, so they're going to need replacing. And then when we inspected further, we found even the engine mount was damaged. Just like the Lamborghini Urus, the engine mount is this one's well and truly cracked. Look at that. That's fully cracked, all the casing on there, and it's supposed to look like that. The engine must have, it's hit on this left side and the engine must have literally gone like that. What has happened to this car? I can't work it out.
Do you know when you rebuild this car,
Yeah.
are you going to be building it back to stock?
Ish.
Oh no.
So now I roughly know the full extent of the damage, so I could begin to order all the parts that I need to fix it. I'm going to have no choice but to order these parts from Aston Martin because the car is so new, and second-hand parts just won't be available. But hopefully, we can get them in time. Right, 24 hours of labour is about to begin. Are you ready? Ready. Let's go. First thing off is the bonnet, and me and Liam are on it. Off comes the bonnet.
It's your first job.
Seats out
Seats out. And why is that?
to get to the roof.
So we've got to push from the
major damage. Yeah.
My dad's job is going to be stripping the interior, starting off with the seats, so then we can see how badly damaged the roof is. We need to see how far this roof has actually been pushed down. Meanwhile, I'm at the front of the car removing all of the damaged parts, starting off with the front crash bar.
Have you brought that over to reduce time to get to the toolbar?
Time, yeah.
I like it, that's efficient.
Yeah. Efficient is what we do here.
Now we're saying 24 hours, but it's actually going to be 24 hours of labour. We're going to be hitting the clock every time we work on this car and stopping it when we go home. Why? Well, we love a challenge. And the quicker we get this car back on the road, the more value it will have. This car isn't getting any younger. Now me and Liam are on to stripping off all of the front radiators, and there's a lot of them. The only one we've left is the aircon rad.
Let's see if there's gas in the aircon.
Because first we wanted to check whether it's got gas. There's gas in it. Because if there's still gas in it, we're going to need to vacuum it out. So we're removing all of the radiators, whilst leaving the aircon rad in for now. Then we could get the aircon machine on it to remove the gas from there. This is the problem with turboed cars. They need so many radiators to work. And it seems like most of the radiators on the front of the car are all damaged. And now with those radiators out of the way, me and Liam can access this front crash can, which is actually removable from the chassis. And it's designed to crumple in an accident. R1 has a little bit of damage to it, so we're definitely going to need to replace it, along with loads of brackets on the left-hand side which need removing. Now I can bring the aircon machine in, so I can vacuum out all the aircon gas, which we definitely know how to use.
3, 2, 1. Done it.
With the aircon gas being vacuumed out, my dad spotted something damaged on the seat.
What?
Whoever was driving this car when it crashed must have been thrown really far back in the seat, because it's actually bent one of the rails which the motor turns. So I'm removing that part now, and then I'm going to phone Aston Martin to see if we can buy that piece separately. And now that all the aircon gas is out of the aircon radiator, I can remove it safely. Then I heard back from Aston. I've got a text! It's from our friends at Aston Martin. That sounds like they're going to do a challenge now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
This part of the seat, you can't order it separately. Right. You have to order the complete seat frame for £3,800.
What?
So, I said no. He said, quote, hammer and block of wood should do it.
Surely it's under warranty.
But yeah, well, it's not come faulty of its own accord, has it? So hammer and block of wood, it looks like that, or £3,800. So I vote hammer and block of wood to get that straight. But thanks, Aston Martin. With time ticking down, we've still got more damaged parts that we need to take off.
We've got to take, the next step, we've got to take this wing off, because look at that.
We almost got away with it.
Almost got away with it, but we've got to tear that off.
It's also damaged at the front here. And you might notice that this front wing and most of the car is made out of this fiberglass material to make the car as light as possible, but it's not cheap. But luckily this front wing part is only a small section. And underneath the wing, the plastic looks all good. Meanwhile, my dad's inside still stripping apart the interior. Whilst I'm outside, trying to work out how we're going to fix this roof. This is our main worry, something that we've never even repaired ever before. We've just called Aston Martin, we've ordered some parts. You can't order a new roof, unfortunately. You can order that, and you can order this trim, but it doesn't seem you can order this section here, so we need to just work out what we can actually do with this, like whether we can push it up ourselves, reshape it, or I don't know. It is not good. We probably should get the screen out as well, because if we are going to start pushing and pulling stuff, we don't want to break that screen. My dad's next goal is to get the seat belts out. Because the airbags are blown, no doubt the seat belts are going to throw faults.
What do you reckon?
Oh, that has gone off. Look, it's even blown the end off. There's explosives on the seat belt which explode when the airbags deploy to pull the driver back into their seat. So the driver's one's gone off. You can see the thing's blown off. And look how short the cable is. You can see, look, the cable's much longer on the passenger side, so it hasn't retracted, plus it hasn't blown there, but we'll send them off anyway because we want to change the colour of the belts. So, to the airbag team, and we want them going coral red. Okay. Bit rude, the seatbelt lady. Then even more of the interior is coming out.
Tony's just offloading trim pieces out here like there's no tomorrow.
Also, we can access this roof area.
Oh, yes. Look at that.
Even the rear quarter is made out of this fiberglass material, and it just looks like it's all glued on, like most new cars now. All to save that little bit of weight. And my dad's still inside stripping apart all of the seat belts so we can send them away to get the explosives reset. Next out, roof lining. Oh my God, it's roll light. It's like cardboard.
That is nice.
Then I need to take off this lower part of the front wing because we're having problems opening the passenger door.
There it is.
So this bonnet hinge, it's quite a big piece actually. And look where it sits, you can see where it was. Do you know what the professionals call that? Witness marks. That's where it used to be, innit? Because they put that hinge on and then painted it. So I reckon if we move that back, we should be able to open the door. Whoa. The hinge is tilted so far back that it's actually touching the door, stopping it from opening. So I'm putting it back into its original spot, then I'm hoping afterwards we should be able to open the door.
Oh. Yes!
Good progress. Any progress is good progress at the minute. Now we've got most of the damaged parts off the front end of the car, and my dad's now on to removing the curtain airbags inside.
Still not exposed a lot.
But the good news is, most of this damage which is on the outside of the roof doesn't look like it's come through on the inner structure of the car, which means the majority of it is mainly cosmetic, not structural. So we think it's fixable. I don't suppose any of your guys are free in the next day or so to remove a rear screen out of this DB12.
Yeah, if I can tomorrow.
Oh, wicked. Legend. Once we have that rear screen out, we should have a better idea of how much that roof's actually moved, and we can start trying to repair it. But for now, Liam's on to removing one of the last piece of damaged parts that's on the car, the wing mirror.
The wraps here.
Inside here should be the colour. Does that count as a colour?
It is a colour, yeah.
It kind of looks a bit greener.
Does look a bit greener. It's got a green tint.
Yeah. That is called a titanium iced matte grey. You might be thinking now, oh my God, what are you doing? Just wait. This is the same way we did my Aston Martin Vantage in, but red. So I think it's going to look really nice. Okay, so what's going on? Well, we're wrapping a car before we've even fixed it. If you think we're going to be able to paint a car in 24 hours, you must be mad. And I plan on keeping this car for myself. It's the newest car I've ever owned, and I really like this colour. So whilst we wait for all the new parts to arrive, we're making best use of our time by starting to wrap the panels which don't have any damage to them. Starting off with the rear quarter first. This colour is like a satin grey colour, but it almost looks bronze, like a champagne colour, which I think is going to really suit the Aston Martin. And whilst I'm wrapping the rear quarter, Liam started on the front lower wings. Most of this car is pretty flat, which makes it that little bit easier to actually wrap, but it is still very time consuming. Shortly after that, the guys from Screensaver arrived to take out the rear and the front screen. And you can see when they started removing the screen here, how much the right side of the car has almost been pushed down. Because once it was cut from the glue, you can see the screen no longer sits flush with the back of the car. So we're definitely going to have to do some bending and fixing to get that back into place.
Yeah, that looks sick.
Now, does that look good?
He's starting on the door.
Yeah, I'm going to start wrapping the door. So far, so good. I think we've got 18 hours left. We had just over 18 hours left, but I had to hold fire on the front door whilst the guys from Screensaver removed the front glass. And then my dad cleared off the remaining broken part of the glass that was left on the rear quarter. There's still so much to do and it can almost feel overwhelming. We've got the parts from Aston Martin, but now that we've got some parts, we should be able to make even more progress. A front splitter And it'd be wrong if I didn't upgrade a few of the stuff whilst I was there. Here's the A-pillar, and we got it in carbon fibre. Both sides, we thought we'd upgrade it, but now with this, we can actually see where it's meant to go. So this shape, the shape of this, when we put this on, we'll be able to see where that panel is supposed to go to, so we can bend the panel back to this pillar trim. The price of all these parts as well, and in here, and we've still got to go get some more because we couldn't fit the bonnet inside, actually wasn't bad at all. And we're like really, really in the green with this car at the minute, but it all depends on that roof. Before we get on to repairing that roof, the new crash can arrived, and I was eager to get things moving on the front end. I can now bolt the new crash can back up to the chassis and then move on to more brackets. These are the brackets which hold the smaller radiators, which are just in front of the wheels. One of them's actually an oil cooler for the engine.
Today, Matthew, instead of you being my apprentice, which I know you love doing, I'm having Liam. I'm teaching him how to, well, that's not really a hard job, but that's an apprentice job.
Yeah, we'll take the fan off.
Undo that, boom, on that side.
Do you know what an apprentice job means? It means a job he doesn't want to do, so he gives it to the apprentice.
No, I like rebuilding stuff.
Toner, 8mm or 10mm?
10mm.
And now that we've got a new radiator, Liam and my dad can transfer the fan off the old one onto the new one because the fan is actually all okay. And whilst they're doing that, I'm still bolting brackets to the car. Right, this is on, that's on. We're missing a lot of parts because we've ordered a lot of stuff, and then Aston Martin have said some stuff can be on back order and some is not. So we're going to be waiting for stuff, and we're hoping comes with enough time for us to build it all up. And because of that situation, it means we're doing things in weird orders. Hence why now we've gone back onto wrapping the car. Me and Liam are doing the passenger side door, and my dad's moved on to the front end, replacing more broken parts. Now, of course, the main worry is that this car doesn't start, and we still don't know why. And as most of the Aston Martin technicians are still learning about this new Aston Martin software, even they were unsure when we asked them. But what they did say, and what I think makes sense, is that we should get as much stuff bolted and plugged into the car as possible. That way it eliminates if it's not starting because something is unplugged. And if it still doesn't start after that, then we're gonna have to investigate further. Right, this is our 4-ton body repair kit. The goal here, the inner skin of this roof panel is actually okay, which is like, it's good and it's bad at the same time because it's good, we don't want to damage it, but it's also going to be hard because we need to push the roof just up a bit because it's misshapen at the back. So we're going to have a go, but the worst thing is when we're pushing and we need something to push off, which we're going to hopefully make this centre console something to push off, just to kind of shape that roof back. I know people are going to moan and say, oh, the strength of it's gone. Well, actually, the strength of it is fine. Because there's no damage to the inner structure, we're essentially just fixing cosmetic damage, just like a dent on the quarter panel. But this is a little bit trickier than your normal dent. And before we start trying to push it back out, we've got to know where we've got to push it out to. And we should be able to see that from this rear quarter glass. And the bottom is fine. We've got to look at the positives here because the top... So now we can see how far out it actually is. The glass is meant to sit flush with the body. Now we can put on the carbon trim, comparing it to the other side, and we can see what else is out. I think we can do it. We just need to find a way how we can bend it in. And speaking of bending, my dad's picked up the rail and the motor from the seat. He's going to start disassembling it in hopes that he can bend it back straight. Otherwise, we've got to buy a whole new seat rail, over £3,000 worth. He's put the rail in a hydraulic press, and he's hopefully going to work it back straight without snapping it. He's even had to put a bit of copper over the threads so he don't damage them. I've had some advice, and because the inner structure is pretty much okay, what we're going to do, because we don't want to damage that, we want to only get to this outer structure, so we're going to have to drill a hole through the inner structure, and then push something through that hole to try and get this part outwards. I dread the comment section on this. Okay, so this isn't your conventional way of fixing this roof. And to get this back to OEM, really you should replace the outer skin of it. But the problem is, we can't buy that. And really, the damage isn't bad enough for us to want to replace it. We think it could be repaired. So plan A is for us to drill a small hole on the inside, so then we could get something behind the outer skin and hopefully knock it back into place. It's going to take a lot of hammering and manipulation to get this right. But remember, this piece of trim doesn't have to look great. The rear quarter window's got to sit flush to it, and the A-pillar trim has to clip into it. Then everything's just got to line up around it. The outer skin is actually steel, whilst the body's aluminium, and steel's a little bit easier to manipulate without it breaking or snapping. Now that we've got the A-pillar trim in, we can put the rear glass in to see where it all lines up. And it still looks like the glass isn't sitting flush with the back of the car, which means we need to do some more bending. So we've got our Mr. Push in action, and then we're going to start pushing out the damage. But first we're going to make sure we take some measurements to make sure we can get the right hand side exactly the same as the left hand side. Then the bending begins. That's really good. Right, the one thing you can't really bend is glass. So this is the be all and end all. It's like, if this fits, we're good. And down goes the rear glass again. Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah, man. Oh,
that before was
that was so high
uphill.
up, yeah. We're nearly there. I reckon we might need to go tiny bit. What do you reckon?
Yeah, just want to go
Tiny bit. And would you believe it? It's actually working. Just a little bit more manipulation to get this glass sitting flush. It's a long process. Taking the glass out, bending, then putting it back in and checking if it sits flush. And we also don't want to damage anything else in the process. But eventually, we got somewhere. Look at that. There's no movement there, no. The rear glass finally fits flush, and the A-pillar carbon trim also is sitting nicely on the car. We then put the rear brake light in to make sure that all lined up, and it was good news. It might not look the prettiest under the panels, but it's doing the job it needs to do. 10 hours left, and I'm absolutely done with wrapping. So we've got Kean here, who wrapped the GTR from Keezyscustoms, and he's just gonna absolutely smash out because the speed he can do it at compared to me is next level. I know we're cheating, but it's going to be a better job and it's going to be faster if he's doing it, and then we can concentrate on doing more mechanical stuff. My dad's gone to get parts, Liam's gone to get a haircut or something. 9 hours 59 left. Kean's about to smash this out. I reckon he'll probably have the majority of this side done with like, what, 8 hours remaining?
Yeah, how fast do you think you can do it?
Oh yeah, I should rather do it in 8 hours.
Let's go. Kean is back. And now we can make much more progress with the wrapping of the car. Because Kean's been doing it for years, he's a lot quicker and more experienced than I'm doing it. He started with the driver's side rear quarter, then he trims up the wrap and tucks it into the places where you can't see it. Then he's quickly onto the driver's side door. And for the side skirt, he's applying knifeless tape, which means now he can cut the wrap underneath without using his knife. He wraps over the tape and then pulls it from underneath, which will cut the wrap. Then, more parts arrived. Liam's here with the bonnet. But before we install the bonnet, my dad's got to put on 2 brand new hinges, which we always replace if the bonnet's ever been damaged, which will help us with lining it up later. This bracket here, look at this bracket. This bracket on here to hold the wing on, all it is glued on to the car. That ain't even, that's not weld, that's glue. And it's missing on that side, but the good thing is we don't need to weld anything, we just order it and Mansory glue it on, which is, I don't know. That just seems to be the way cars are going now. Everything's panel bonded or just glued on. Again, it's lightweight and it's cheap, so why not? And this whole time, we've still been trying to work out how this car ended up with this type of damage. But something might give us a clue. The one thing that's going to be interesting when we check this out on Car Vertical is that the previous owners is going to be the interesting part, because if this never got to a customer, it shouldn't show as any previous owners. So that means I'll be the first owner. But the one thing that kind of contradicts that is that the insurance has paid out for it. So if the insurance has paid out for it, surely the insurance owns the car before it got sent to me. So it could say 2 or it could say 0. So I am going to check it out on Car Vertical, where I can either put the VIN in or the registration plate. Now the registration plate for this car was wrote on the back window. A 73 plate car. So this was registered late 2023 in the UK. And when we bring up the check, I can see that there's been no mileage fraud, there's no outstanding finance, but the car has been registered as damaged. One owner, 0824, that's me. So there hasn't been any previous owners of the car. Wait, what's going on here? It's been damaged before the car's got registered. Look, look, 2023, car's damaged, car's manufactured, car's registered on the road in January.
How can it be damaged before it was manufactured?
No, this brings back to our theory of that it got crashed and then registered on the road to claim through the insurance.
So there's something dodgy going on.
Something has gone wrong with this car. Look, it's marked damaged before it's been marked on the road.
We've never seen that.
How can the car be classed as an insurance write-off before it's even been registered on the road? It doesn't make any sense. If the insurance is paid out on a car, surely that means it was insured to drive on the road. But how can you insure a car to drive on the road that isn't even registered yet? Something just isn't adding up with this car. But the good news is, I'm the first owner. And another thing which is good with Car Vertical, if you check a car out which has been crash damaged, sometimes you can even see the photos of the car when it was at the auction place, which can really help when it comes to bargaining. So remember, if you want to check your car out, a friend's car or a car that you're potentially about to buy, click the link in the description box below and use code MATT for discount on that check as well. All the rest of the stuff that we need to do is probably going to be underneath the car. We're missing the seat belts, so we can't put the interior back in. We haven't got the airbags yet, so we can't put the airbags in. We need to get this car in the ramp, and then we're going to start doing that fuel line, the drop links, and the engine mount. But there's still a few jobs to do before that. I've got to take off all the trims that are on underneath the bonnet, including the seals and the sound deadening, and the bonnet grills, and then fit them all onto the new bonnet now that it's wrapped. All of this is held in with clips, and everything comes off pretty easy because, well, it's brand new. And to be fair, we are making some good progress. But we still have the doubt that this car won't start after doing all of this work. My dad's now reassembling the seat rail with the motor, and we'll soon find out whether it actually works. It's still a little bent, but I guess we'll find out. Then he can fit it back to the bottom of the seat. And whilst he's doing that, Kean's still wrapping parts, and I'm about to attempt to put a window in. I'm now the new windscreen guy because we've got like 5 hours left. Never put in a screen before, but I've read the instructions. The instructions said, first off, I should prime the area. Then, I'm going to need some windscreen adhesive.
Prepping it for you, Matt, look.
Apparently it's got to be dry. Right, I reckon I'm going to go for it. Then, apply the windscreen adhesive.
It's going with confidence. First windscreen you fitted?
Ever.
We're just rubbing it on, yeah?
Yeah.
You've then got to apply the primer to the glass as well.
Have you fit a windscreen before?
Yeah, I have.
Okay, do you know what?
Transit custom.
Is he doing it right or not?
Yeah, he's got it on it.
Oh yeah, on the glass.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, well...
What's all this about then?
Right, Kian, you get yourself out of here and concentrate on your wrapping, alright?
How much you put on there, lad?
I just pulled it out and primed it.
After that, I could push the glass into place, making sure it sits nice and flat. Then, bolt it all down. I think we did an okay job. Right, we're doing the rear screen next.
You're going to put the rear screen?
That was a problem. Well, I think what we should do is put all this trim in first to make sure that all our roof manipulation and window putting in and everything like that and air intake all fits. So I think the bolts have got to go in for the rear quarter here next, and then we can start putting in all the trim. 4 hours remaining. But now with that rear glass in, I can bolt up the rear quarter and slide in this air guide, which isn't an intake for the engine because the engine's obviously at the front of the car. This is a new system on the DB12s where the air gets guided down the side of the car and then into the boot lid and through the rear spoiler, all for downforce. Whether it actually works or not, I guess I'll find out when I drive it. That's if we ever get it started.
3 hours 54.
It's getting tight now, isn't it?
Extremely tight.
The good news is this carbon trim along with the glass is all sitting nice and flush with the body of the car. But we still haven't received the carbon trim for the other side. Kian's finished wrapping the rear bumper and is now onto the roof. It's starting to come together now. Right, roof is wrapped, carbon trim's on, window is in. Kian has smashed out the wrapping. That saved us a lot of time because we don't have much time left. Now we're going to jump off the wrapping again now because there's still a few more bits to go and try and concentrate on actually seeing whether we get this car started. The interior, we're going to ignore for now as well. But remember, the fuel lines underneath is broken. The engine mount underneath is broken. To fix them, we've got to get it in the ramp, but we do have the parts. So let's move this thing, and then that's one step to actually getting this car started, which we still don't know whether it does or not. Let's get it off this ramp and into there. I've got a theory. Normally when you put the ignition on a car, it primes the fuel pump. But on the DB12, the fuel lines were broken. So if we were putting the ignition on and it was trying to prime the fuel pumps, it would realise it'd have no fuel pressure. And maybe that's the reason why this car isn't starting. I guess we'll find out. So that metal fuel line, which is broken and all squashed up under the back, leads all the way up to this part here. And we have ordered a new one. This is it. It goes all the way up there. I think this black line is fine. It's this line that's broken. So I'm hoping we can disconnect it from here. Maybe we're gonna be able to slide that out and down the bottom of the car. No fuel came out of that either, which is that concerning?
Perhaps it only had 29 miles worth of fuel in it.
With the fuel pipe disconnected from the front of the car, we can now send it up and go to the back and disconnect it from the fitting there. Then we've got to slide it out all the clips so we can get it away from the car. This metal tray is also going to be in the way of getting it off as well, so that needs to be removed. And it also looks like the subframe might be in the way. So we're now going to have to loosen the bolts for the front subframe, just so we can lower it down a bit to get that fuel line out of there. But it still wasn't going low enough. We're going to have to do the bolts on the other side of the subframe as well. Aston Martin have now been taking lessons from Audi.
Oh my God.
I've just seen where the last subframe bolt is and it ain't good. Yeah. Try behind that.
You're joking, it's up there?
Yeah.
Where?
There's a bolt behind that. Before we removed this wishbone bolt, we marked where it was. Because when you turn this bolt, it adjusts the tracking on the front of the car. So we want to make sure that we get it back in the exact same spot. And with that bolt now removed, we can move the wishbone out of the way so we can access the final bolt for the subframe to lower it down and hopefully get out our fuel line. Yay! There we go. All of that to get that out. Let's put the new one in, and then we've got to fix the other one that's broken.
Good bit of scrap now.
Now I can slide the new fuel pipe into place, sliding it just above the subframe, removing any broken clips on the chassis, fitting new clips in place of them, and then clipping it to the fitting at the back of the car. Now the car can come back down and I can connect it up at the front. It just slides in place and clips in. Job done. Because this pipe here, which is not connected to here, we did order it. This one, this is the only bit that's missing, this blue clip here. This pipe, to replace this whole thing, it goes up, down there, and above this gearbox to the fuel tank. So to replace this pipe is a bit of a job. I don't know where this is going to go onto the fuel pump, which is in the fuel tank, somewhere at the top there. So what would be nice if we can do is if we replace this fitting and put it onto there, and then we can fit that to that. So do you think we can do that? The answer is no. These fittings are like high pressure fittings, and we don't want to risk anything, especially with the fuel line. We're going to have to replace that whole fuel pipe, which means getting the car down and finding the fuel tank. It's going to be behind this, isn't it? I would say it's behind here. And I was right. It was behind there. It's double-sided taped.
Brilliant.
I'm not joking.
Some Mansory tape.
It's double-sided taped down. If I handed that to you, so where's that come off? You wouldn't say DB12, would you?
Yeah.
Right, here's our fuel line. Here. This fuel line looks like it's connected directly to the pump. So first thing, we need to disconnect it. Okay, that's out. We're gonna tie some string to it, and then when we pull it out, we can tie the string to the new one and pull that string back through, so hopefully follows the same route and should be able to clip it back on. This is my Italian ball of string. And now I've got to tie the knot on the end of this and just hope it holds out. Pull it out. We then got to send the car up so my dad can go underneath and start pulling the pipe.
Yeah? Are you ready?
The pipe was so tight between the fuel tank and the chassis of the car. It's really tight. We might be able to get it out, but getting a new one in will be impossible. Okay, so that didn't work. So we've now got to probably drop the fuel tank, but to drop the fuel tank, the gearbox is above it, and the exhaust, and the prop shaft. This is stupid. A 5-minute job has now turned into a job which could take hours. And dropping the exhaust, the gearbox, and the prop shaft would just take too long. So we need room to get the fuel line over the top of the fuel tank and down the side of it, and the fuel tank at the minute is too close to the actual chassis of the car. If we lower the subframe down, it's going to lower the subframe, not the fuel tank, but the fuel tank is just above this subframe and everything there, and it's held in with 2 straps, like arms like that. And if we can get to the bolts to lower the arms down, we should be all right. And we think if we take this off, we might be able to get to those straps to lower the fuel tank down. Fuel tank can't be that heavy because we don't think there's any fuel in it, so we should be able to get to it. So we're going to swaz this off and see if we can get to it. Swaz! Swaz. Oh yeah, it smells like gearbox oil. Oh, they come from the factory leaking because mine isn't oil. No way, it's leaking oil. Or that's from when they've filled it. This car's done 29 miles and it's got a leak. No way. No way.
That is on there, look.
Oh yeah, it's soaked.
No way it can't come out of the factory with a leak. So it's actually, unless it was just residue from when they filled it. Anyway, well, can we get to our straps? We can.
Can we?
Look, here's the fuel tank.
Yeah.
And look, and here, up here, look, them bolts there, lower this tank right down. Great news. So we just need to loosen those 2 strap bolts, which should lower the fuel tank just enough and away from the chassis. And once we've done that, we should be able to pull the pipe out because it'll have enough clearance to go over the top of the fuel tank. This time, my dad's tying the Italian string to the end of the fuel line and I'm going to pull it up through the car, which seemed to work, but it was still pretty tight. But that's the broken fuel line out. Now I've got to go back underneath and tie the Italian string to the new fuel line. Okay, start going up. And my dad's now got to pull the string through.
It's jammed on something.
Okay, hang on. It was such a tight fit, man.
It's gone real. Oh, right, it's going. Yeah, it's going.
Yeah? And we didn't want to break the pipe.
It's going, I've got it! Yeah!
Yes! Oh my god! Yes! Okay, we've done it. If Aston Martin are watching and they ever need to replace that pipe, don't worry, you don't need to drop the gearbox. All I needed to do now was to connect the pipe up at the top, put it all back together, and go underneath and connect it at the bottom.
Yes.
Yes! Yes! Oh my god, okay, that clips up there. And then that, we've just got to tighten up all through there. We're all buttoned up, all underneath there, which is good. We've got a few more jobs left underneath here. Time is cutting it short and the car's still far from done. We've got a drop link to change there. I've got that. We've got a drop link to change here, which I've half took out already. I just need to change those 2. But the main thing is this engine mount up here, which I have got a new one right here. And it's literally only 3 bolts underneath. And it looks like then it just gets locked in with a bolt across the top, which Yeah, I can just about see at the top there. So I think we can swazzle them out and then hopefully hold up the engine with a bit of wood and the gearbox mount. I know you're not supposed to, but I think we can do that. So there's 3 bolts underneath the engine mount holding it in. First, we're loosening them off. And then we can start trying to slide out the remaining part of this engine mount. There's then 2 bolts which are kind of pinching the engine mount to the side of the engine. We'll loosen them up. Then we need to support the engine from underneath. And the block of wood does the job just fine. Out comes the broken engine mount. Now we can slide in the new engine mount, making sure it goes in the right way. And it's going to be a pretty tight squeeze to get into place. But we had an issue. Right, we've had another incident of people not knowing the left and rights. We're just trying to put this engine mount in and it's not lining up. It says on this part number there, ends in AA. And the one on this side also ends in AA. Maybe those engine mounts are the same part number, they're just interchangeable, but then the one that's just come off ends in BA. Well, looks like we've got to order another one. So we couldn't carry on with that job, but there was still plenty of jobs to do. I started changing the rear anti-roll bar drop link, which was easy enough. 2 nuts, slide the drop link out, pop the new drop link in and tighten it all back up. And it's the same with the front drop link. Both of these links might have been fine, but because it had a split rubber bush, eventually they would have gone bad from dirt getting in. Then whilst we waited for that engine mount to arrive, me and Liam put on the front supporting bar, then this sort of plastic arch liner and headlight holder, then we slid in the air filters. There's still a lot of stuff missing from this engine bay which goes underneath the air filters as well, but it's all parts we're waiting for. In the meantime, we can start fitting the wings. And they look so much better now, they're all body coloured. And all the panels were lining up pretty good.
Oh my, you do this every time!
I didn't even mean to do that! I've done it again, haven't I? The seatbelts have come back from the airbag team. They've got all new explosives in them. And the new colour. Matt said coral, which I think that's about right, because if we went red, it'd be too sporty. Yeah, we're going to have to see what this looks like inside the car, but because we've got the seatbelts back, we can now put the rest of the interior back together. But to put the rest of the interior back together, we've got to move the car forward so we get the doors open. But because we've got the wrong engine mount in, we've rested the old engine mount back in place, the broken one. We're going to have to sort of bolt everything up just for now because the new engine mount will be coming. Then we need to roll this forward and then we can start fitting the seatbelts and the rest of the interior. Finally, the interior can start going back together. We've just under 2 hours left. It looks pretty bad in there. But we've nominated my dad to put it back in because he was the one that took it apart. We think that's going to be the quickest way. First off, the rear seatbelts go in. And I'm replacing the curtain airbags on each side because both of them were deployed, which is an easy enough job. Next, curtain airbag. And then there's another one to do on the other side, which fits exactly the same way the left side was. Then, a pyro fuse arrived. And a new pyro fuse has arrived. This has got to hopefully be able to start the car once we start fitting all this. New pyro fuse, looks good, from a Porsche. That one's broken inside there. We're hoping now, with this on, the computer will think, okay, I've got a new pyro fuse, I might start, but we won't know until we try and start it and we fit it, so let's get this fitted. The reason the new pyro fuse is from a Porsche, because if you ask Aston Martin for a new pyro fuse, they'll need to sell you this whole board that I'm bolting the pyro fuse to now, which is close to £500. But when you take the pyro fuse out and check the part numbers, they're exactly the same as they use in many other cars. Now my dad is onto the front seatbelt, sliding them back in the way they came. This time though, with a different colour and new explosives in them. The interior on this car is like a jigsaw. If you fit one trim in the wrong order, you could end up taking a lot apart again just to fit the part that you put in wrong in the first place. So I'm staying well out of this one. But to see it all coming together is really satisfying. And this is a really nice looking interior.
Headlining, Alcantara edges.
Going in?
going in.
One of the final steps is the roof lining, which clips into place, then the leather pillars. 1 hour, 6 minutes left. We're missing a lot. We can't really help my dad in the interior because there's too many people in there. We're missing a headlight. We're missing stuff which goes here. We're missing a radiator, another radiator. Well, we've got that radiator, but that radiator can't go in before that radiator. A crash bar, we've got the crash bar, but we can't put the crash bar in until that radiator's in, else that's gonna cause a problem. Headlight's gone, bumper's gone. A lot of stuff we're still waiting for. It might be here within that hour, we don't know. We still haven't even started this thing, but as soon as that interior's in, we might be able to start it. But it's not looking good. An hour left, and we're panicking because me and Liam are just standing on the outside whilst my dad's putting the interior in.
And I might lose my job if we don't get it done.
Tony, we're panicking.
I know, yeah, I'm panicking. I'm trying to be, yeah.
It's all on you, quick. Quick. Get it in, quick, get the bolt in.
The DB12 has come such a long way already, and it's starting to look less and less like a crash damaged car. But the next job is super important. When I got this car, I knew I was going to keep it for myself. So we got this from Car Reg. DB12 BMX, how cool is that on the DB12? You guys can also get yourself a personal reg from Car Reg, and using my discount code, you get a free registration plate with it as well. Cheers, Car Reg. DB12 BMX, look at that!
Yeah!
Yeah, that looks proper. That looks official, that does. That looks like, I feel like sophisticated, doesn't it?
Is the sophisticated BMXers?
No, no BMXer is sophisticated.
Tony, you'll be happy to know they've put the reg on.
With that important job out the way, we've got another important job to do. Put fuel in it. If we want any chance of this car starting, then it's got to have fuel. And we'll also be able to see whether our fuel lines actually worked and they're not leaking anywhere. And as the time ticked down to under an hour left, my dad was putting in the final bolts for the seats. Batteries on, people are still putting the car together, but whilst they're doing that, we can read the code, see if we can clear any, and we're hoping now, because we've got fuel pump, because we've got fuel, because we've got a pyro fuse, although we've not replaced all of the airbags, we might be able to start it, but I do have a theory that because the fuel lines were off, maybe when we put the ignition on this time, we'll be able to prime the fuel pump and it recognise fuel pressure, which will allow it to crank. Only a theory, wouldn't happen on an old car, but possibly on one of these. Let's scan it. So I'm back in with a diagnostic tool, scanning it as a Mercedes again, and I'm going to clear any existing fault codes. And hopefully this time, the car starts.
No.
But nothing. We've got a plan. We've not got long left now, and we cannot get this started. My computer won't read it. Aston Martin is saying we need to go to them. The car's in bits, so if it goes to them, they likely won't do anything until it's together. We're thinking of going old school on a new school car. Putting 12 volts straight to the starter motor. And if it goes straight to the starter motor and cranks the engine, one, we know the engine cranks, and two, if we do it with the ignition on, it might even start up. Or three, it goes very, very badly and trips out the whole car. It's worth the risk. At this point, I've just bought an expensive ornament, which isn't fixed and doesn't even start. So we're willing to try anything. We're now connecting up the battery pack so the car's got the sufficient power to be able to start it, and my dad and Liam are going underneath the car to connect a jumper cable to the starter motor.
So when I connect this end to positive now, it should crank over. Are you ready?
No!
Send it. Send it.
Yeah. Okay, one crank. Well, we cranked it. It cranked. But we had no spark or no fuel. Was going to try one more time.
Do it again.
Okay, stop.
I think the battery's dying.
Is that the closest we're going to get? There's only so much time we can spend on trying to start this car before it actually has to go to Aston Martin. This seems like it's way beyond us and way beyond the tools that we've got. There's still one last thing I wanted to do to it.
Delivery.
They look sick.
Now this bit was planned, but we also at this point thought we might have actually had the car running. But these wheels, you can see, well, the tyre's got a bulge in the tyre. The wheels are okay. They're not really my type of taste, but as I wanted to keep this car, I already had Wheelmania on tap to come here and change the wheels. Judd alloys from Wheelmania with Pilot Sport 4S's. This is more like wearing a suit and then wearing Nike trainers. Yeah. Whereas it's wearing a suit but then wearing shoes.
Yeah. We've got 11 minutes to get them fitted.
Wheelmania pick crew.
I wanted to say a massive thank you to Wheelmania for coming out and delivering these wheels. The original plan was that this car would have been finished and I would have drove there and had them fitted. But we still can't get this car started. And I guess new wheels aren't going to solve the starting issue, but at least it'll look cool. Oh yeah, looks way better in gloss black. If you guys ever need any wheels or wheel refurbishment, make sure you are using Wheelmania. These have completely transformed the car. One last thing now, wheels are on. We've just got one final thing. We've got 7 minutes to do it.
If anybody wants wheels, what do they do, George?
Oh, click the WhatsApp link below. Is that it?
Do that. WhatsApp. WhatsApp Wheelmania with the link below.
Do you prefer shoes or Nikes?
I like both, actually.
Okay, wheels are on. There's 5 minutes remaining. The car is still like this, but hopefully we should have some parts arrive within those 5 minutes, including the engine mount, so we can actually try and drive this. Delivery. Oh, look at that. We've got the engine mount from Aston Martin. This one ended in BA because this one was the wrong side. It ended in AA. So hopefully this is the correct one. Let's get this fitted within 4 minutes. Let's go. Now we're getting ambitious.
3 minutes 30 left. It took a minute and a half to get that thing up.
How long is it going to take to change an engine mount?
Great, bump it up! Now we've got 2 minutes 14 seconds left. Guys, there's 60 seconds left.
Okay, we're on it, we're on it. Can you wedge this one out?
10, 9, 8,
We're going to be there, we're going to be
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Game over.
We didn't care. We went overtime. Out comes the old engine mount and in goes the new one. This time the correct side. We can slide it into place, put the bolts in underneath, and now we can finally put the wishbone back into place and the subframe bolted back up. And the Aston was almost done. So the 24 hours is up, and this is what it looks like. It may not look like much, but there was a big transformation from then to now. Unfortunately, we've been held back actually by Aston Martin. Let's run through these problems. Problem number 1. So even though this car is brand new and they're making them at the factory, the parts that they have for the cars are going on the cars which are in production at the minute. So a lot of parts are on back order. Even things like the front bumper, we can't get till November. This part here is still black. We're waiting for the carbon part as well. We're waiting for the wing mirrors. We're waiting for airbags inside the car. All the stuff that isn't on, as I mentioned, is on back order. Problem 2. Car doesn't start. So this has been an ongoing thing. We cannot figure out how this car starts at all. When we went to pick up the windscreen, one of the technicians comes and said, we've just worked on a DB12 and we had the rear bumper off. And with the rear bumper off, the car wouldn't start. So our first step would be to bolt everything to it, but we haven't got the parts to bolt everything to it. Problem 3. We still don't know how this car was in this accident, what's actually happened, and maybe if we did know what's happened, it might help us with being able to start the car. Maybe something was disconnected, we don't know. Why has it never got to a customer? Why was it registered crash before it was even registered on the road? We don't know. So if someone knows, please help us. And finally, how much did it cost? DB12 was £60,000 at auction. And all the parts to fix this, we hope we got everything. All in one from Aston Martin, £62,000, and that's including parts that haven't arrived yet. So altogether, a total of £122,000. I think we're on to a winner, but at the minute we're not, because we've just got an ornament which rolls when we push it. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button, hit that thumbs up button, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.
Now we need a hammer and a bit of wood.
You're like a drug that I just can't deny.